my name's Brianna Jonak, and you can find my work at www.becomingwhole.org. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about some revelations I had this morning after meditation. Meditation is my daily practice to get centered and to let insights and intelligence from the universe come through me in that silent space that you can create during meditation if you had a practice for a while. And actually that's a good segue into my first revelation that I want to talk about, which is about, or my first understanding, you could say, perspective that I come from. The first one is about how we heal and the steps to healing. And the first thing I want to say about that is that first we need to heal ourselves. Because when we heal ourselves, we start on a journey of becoming aware of who we are, becoming aware of what's important to us, becoming aware of what our needs are, discovering needs that might have gotten overlooked, and discovering hurts and injuries and pains that we might have had. And on that discovery, we learn the perspectives and ways we have looked at the world through that, and then as we become aware of that, we can decide whether or not that is serving how we want to look at the world. What's our main aim in looking at the world? And if we're a healer and we want to focus on healing, or if we want to focus on bringing awareness or to others, first we need to start out with ourselves. Be the change you wish to see in the world, right? Gandhi, great man. Yogas also have a lot of yogic philosophy also has this concept of starting with yourself first. And once you can become aware of who you are, what challenges you've gone through, what pains you've suffered, you can relate to the world in a different way. You can see yourself in others, for instance. And you can also start to move things out of the way that stops you from really being in the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, that's when healing really occurs. Because healing is this beautiful process of becoming aware of what's happening, becoming aware of what has happened to you in your body, uncovering different pieces that have gotten overlooked. And through doing that, you can start to integrate those pieces back into who you are, and those pieces can kind of grow up. So a lot of times, like say we have a trauma when we're young. I suffered trauma when I was young. There are pieces that get left behind from that trauma, and we have to learn where that piece might have gotten stuck in the past and how that has informed how we look at the world, and not only how we look at the world with trauma, obviously also how our body and sensations feel the world, because a lot of trauma is locked in the body. The issues are in the tissues, as I've heard a few people say, and in the nervous system has a lot to do with trauma and how our nervous system interprets the world, which has to do with, in a traumatic situation, do we fight, flight, or free, or do we tend to befriend? So once we know these things about ourselves and we start to incorporate who we are fully, and maybe let some of those other pieces grow up to who we really are, what our aspirations really are, what our goals really are, what our purpose really is in the present moment. When all those pieces can kind of get on board, because there's like many timelines going on at one time, and we want to update all those timelines of moments that might have gotten stuck to become in the present. Then once we're in the present, we can see reality for what it really is. We can see someone else and just be present and hold them in spaciousness as they go through whatever they might be going through. And the emotions or the signals from them that might have triggered us in the past or might have caused a reaction in us, we can either not have them happen anymore, which has happened to me before. I've gone through a lot of intense trauma and things that triggered me very intensely, like anger. What's really hard for me, especially in men, I would be very frozen and want to run away whenever any guy got angry in my presence. And sometimes when other people's large expressions of emotion or energy or voice or something like that could really trigger my nervous system too. And I would it would be really hard for me to stay present in that moment. But as I've kind of learned to be with those things, and of course sometimes that still happens, but if I'm in the space of I'm giving service to someone else, maybe I'm the facilitator, I'm a healer in a situation, I can really be in the present moment as I've updated all those things, or at least I can be aware, oh, look, that's my trigger. Let me just watch it arise inside my body and then let it go on. And I can still be present for the other person and what their needs might be. And then once we have some kind of handle on that, we can do that within a group. So there's a lot going on in a group. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different energy. I know for me personally, it's really hard to be in a group. Like a group setting, it would terrify me sometimes because I am very empathic, and I would feel a lot of everything underneath people's kind of facial personas, and my feeling underneath is what makes me a really good facilitator and healer. But it would also be really distressing for the other little parts of me that hadn't been kind of nurtured and needed and gotten their needs met in the moment. And my journey of learning how to meet their needs and still continue to meet their needs as I am present with the group is really important. And then once I can be present with that, and I can also make a choice in the moment, like, do I want to stay with that, let's say, fear in the moment? Or do I have courage that can meet the fear, be present with the fear, and say, okay, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I'm going to take a different action right now than maybe what you might be saying through your signals, through my own internal, like, little one signals, let's say. And I can make a different decision. Like, I will speak very clearly into a group right now, even though my body and my mind and some of the parts of me that have been traumatized are saying, no, don't do that. And I'm only saying to do that. That's like a step down the road of after you've really spent a lot of time with yourself and watching, acknowledging, and taking care of your own needs in a group. I spent a lot of time taking care of my own needs and not voicing them, really listening to that fear and, seeing it, watching it, acknowledging it continuously over and over for years and years before I felt like, okay, I can acknowledge that right now, and I also feel like I can make another choice in this moment. And so that's what I did. And so actually that brings me to the other revelation that I was having, or understanding about healing, and healing through awareness, and healing with a very gentle, patient touch, which I find for myself has been just extraordinary. And I find that with other people too, to not, especially with trauma or anything like that, to not push ourselves too hard when we have pains that need to be listened to, acknowledged, and met. And so that is kind of some of my solutions for healing, steps to healing yourself, which is to first become, first my meditation practice helped me a lot, and some people can do this without meditating, but it's where you can have an awareness of what's going on in your body and not get dragged into the experience of the body or the emotions. So I am the home, or the guest house, as Rumi likes to say, for all these different travelers through. Emotions are travelers. Everything is passing through the present moment. And when I allow these travelers to come and say hello, greet them at the door, and say, yes, what are your needs? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? What would you like to have? I'm acknowledging them. I'm engaging with them. I'm listening for the answer of what they need. And then I'm giving that to them. So I would give that to myself. Like, say, a younger part of me that felt in the moment when there was like a loud noise or something, that part would be like, I really need to hide. And at first, for a long time, I would let myself do that. Okay, well, we're going to hide right now. We're not going to come out. In fact, we're going to pretend there's like covers over our head. And we can peek out if we want to, but we don't have to. And maybe giving and saying, do you want a candle? No. Maybe like something else. Maybe let's just stay in here now. And that's fine for that moment. Just accepting and acknowledging that that's what that part means. And then after a while, it's like if you had a scared animal and you wanted to. One time, I found a cat who was a tiny baby kitten at a park. And I sat with her, near her, for about 3 days before she would come to me, and I just laid out food every day. And she was crying. She was crying. And I would just sit calmly, kind of not close to where I would scare her away, and just set out food every day. And she finally did come up to me, and I was able to grab her, which was, obviously a little traumatizing for her, but I was trying to take her home with me to give her a home. And so that's, kind of a way that you can treat and be kind to yourself and listen to all those little parts that need to be heard. And then as those parts get stronger, as you continue to listen, they continue to grow or get fed. When their needs are fed, they can leave. Yeah, when you're fed at a meal and you're like, oh, okay, it's time to get up from the table now. That's it. Then you move on. It's a different moment, which is the beautiful thing about moments. They come and go. And then you're in the present. And it's quite miraculous sometimes. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's a really difficult journey to hearing your own inner self. So spending a lot of time acknowledging yourself and what I was saying before about awareness, like having the awareness, and it's almost like becoming the parent of yourself, right? Reparenting. Then listening, validating, understanding, and then healing or change can occur over time. And then another important step is really acknowledging that healing has occurred. And I'm using healing kind of synonymous with change for the moment. That change has occurred, so change has occurred inside of you. So like when I'm done with the meal, oh, well, that's right, I'm done. Okay, time to go do something else. But also, when a lot of the parts have not been seen, you can see yourself as I have just changed. Wow, I'm a different person. Like, wow, I can acknowledge myself for being able to make this video, to speak to whoever might watch it. And that's a big deal for me. That's a huge deal for me, actually, having a trauma where my voice was, giving my voice to others was very difficult. So, yay me. So I would love you to just take this moment and just let's think or feel about a part of yourself that might have needs that haven't been fulfilled. It can be really easy, like, oh, I need to drink water right now. I need to go pee, actually, or I need to move around and stop watching this video. Yeah, and then give yourself that, whatever it is. Then come back to the video later if you want to, or not. Whatever the moment is calling you to do, you do that. And I just want to acknowledge you for your path and the discovery of that. And watching this video in the moment. Maybe like spark your interest or awareness or your curiosity towards yourself and others. And how to pursue maybe healing or helping others heal. So good job. So you need to hear a lot about that. Positive validation is really helpful. And it's really helpful for a lot of people in a lot of our culture that has been told, you know, you didn't do that good enough, or maybe I don't feel worthy, or you know, you're not worthy of that, or yeah, there's a lot. So really giving yourself loving props. So I just want to actually conclude this video for the moment because that was very lovely, and thank you so much for listening and being on the journey with me. And I hope you have a curiosity and loving day. And you can check out my work again at becomingwhole.org.